Kara stood at the observation deck of Earth Station 7, staring at the stars. She had been stationed here for 3 years now, working as the human liaison to the Zalaxian delegation. The massive space station orbited Earth, serving as a diplomatic hub for 6 different alien species. Among the Zalaxians was Trine, a tall, slender female with iridescent blue skin and eyes that shifted color with her mood. Today they were a deep purple. As she approached Kara from behind, Trine and Kara had worked together almost daily since the Zalaxians arrived. Their relationship had evolved from professional courtesy to genuine friendship. Kara found herself looking forward to their meetings more than anything else in her routine. Kara was 32 with short brown hair and eyes that reminded Trine of Earth oceans. Humans seemed plain to most aliens with their solid-colored skin and eyes that stayed the same shade. But Trine found Kara's features fascinating, especially the tiny freckles across her nose that formed patterns like Zalaxian star maps. The Earth Station 7 was celebrating its 5th anniversary of operation. A grand reception was planned for that evening, with representatives from all species present. Kara had spent weeks helping coordinate the event, ensuring all biological and cultural needs were accommodated. It was not easy to plan a party where some attendees breathed methane, while others were deathly allergic to common Earth metals. The logistics were a nightmare, but Kara excelled at such challenges. Trine found Kara in her office surrounded by holographic displays showing seating arrangements, food preparations, and security protocols. "You look stressed, friend," Kara Trine said, using the formal Zalaxian greeting. Kara looked up and her face transformed with a smile. Trine had learned that this expression meant happiness, though on her world, showing teeth was considered threatening. The cultural differences had led to many misunderstandings in the early days. "Just finalizing details for tonight," Kara said. "Don't worry, your delegation is seated far from the Vortans. I remember the incident from last year." Trine made a musical sound that was the Zalaxian equivalent of laughter. The diplomatic incident had involved a Vortan ambassador accidentally spraying defensive pheromones when startled, which had caused 3 Zalaxians to fall into a temporary hibernation state. "I appreciate your attention to detail," Trine said. Her eyes shifted to a warm orange, a color Kara had come to associate with gratitude. "Will you be attending as coordinator or guest?" "Both, unfortunately," Kara sighed, running a hand through her hair. "I have to make sure everything goes smoothly, but Station Chief Porter insists I mingle as well." "Show the flag," she calls it. Trine tilted her head. "I still do not understand this human phrase." "Show the flag," Kara smiled. "It means represent humanity officially. Be a good example of our species." "I see," Trine said, though she did not fully grasp the concept. Humans had many expressions that defied literal translation. "Perhaps I will see you there then." Kara nodded absently, already turning back to her displays. Trine lingered a moment longer than necessary before departing. That evening, the main observation deck had been transformed. The usually practical space now sparkled with lights from all the homeworlds represented on the station Earth constellations, projected alongside Zalaxian star patterns, Vortan nebula clouds, and the binary star system of the Acrids. Kara wore her formal uniform, crisp blue with silver accents. The Earth insignia gleamed on her chest. She moved through the crowd, checking details and smiling professionally at the various dignitaries. Trine arrived with the Zalaxian delegation. They wore ceremonial garments that seemed to flow like liquid, capturing and refracting light in hypnotic patterns. By human standards, they looked like they were wearing living streams of water. Ambassador Lorith, the head of the Zalaxian delegation, nodded respectfully to Kara liaison. "Wilson, your preparation for this event is most satisfactory." "Thank you," Ambassador Kara replied with a slight bow, the proper Zalaxian acknowledgement. "We hope this celebration strengthens the bonds between our worlds." As the reception continued, Kara found herself repeatedly glancing across the room to where Trine stood conversing with a group of Acrids. The short insectoid aliens were gesturing animatedly with their upper limbs while Trine listened. Attentively, Station Chief Diane Porter approached Kara. "Everything running smoothly?" "Wilson." "Yes, Chief," Kara confirmed. "All species present and accounted for. No diplomatic incidents yet." Porter, a stern woman in her 50s with silver-streaked black hair, nodded. "Keep it that way." The General Secretary is watching this event closely. Our funding for next year depends on continued peaceful relations. Kara suppressed a sigh. The politics behind the station were always complex. Earth governments were divided on the benefits of alien contact. Some saw opportunities for advancement while others feared the influence of alien cultures and technologies. As the evening progressed, Kara finally found a moment to approach Trine. The Zalaxian stood alone by a window gazing at Earth below. "Beautiful, isn't it?" Kara said, joining her. Your first posting off-world. Trine turned, her eyes shifting to a contemplative blue. "Yes, though very different from Zolax. Our world has 2 moons and rings. The night sky is never." This dark. Kara studied Trine's profile. The elegant slope of her head, the subtle ridges along her neck that humans had initially mistaken for gills, but were actually sensory organs that detected electromagnetic fields. Alien yet beautiful in her own way. "How are you finding Earth customs?" Kara asked. "We can be a confusing bunch, I know." Trine made that musical laugh again. "Confusing? Yes. Your species says one thing while meaning another. You touch casually, which on my world would indicate deep intimacy. Yet you stand far apart when speaking formally, which we reserve for enemies." Kara smiled, guilty as charged. "We are full of contradictions." Before Trine could respond, alarms began blaring throughout the station. Red emergency lights flashed, casting an eerie glow across the observation deck. "Attention all personnel and visitors." Station Chief Porter's voice came over the communication system. "We are detecting an approaching vessel that has not responded to hails. Please remain calm and follow Security Protocol 7. The guests began murmuring, some showing signs of distress. Kara immediately shifted to emergency mode. Security Protocol 7 meant potential hostile contact, though it could simply be a malfunctioning communication system on the approaching ship. Kara turned to Trine. "I need to report to the command center. Stay here with your delegation. Security will escort everyone to the designated safe areas." Trine's eyes had shifted to an alert yellow. "Be careful. Carry in." The command center. Porter stood surrounded by holographic displays tracking the unknown vessel. "It's small," she noted. "About the size of a supply ship. But the configuration doesn't match any known design." Kara took her position at the communications array, continuing to broadcast greeting and identification messages on all frequencies. No response. "Chief," she reported. "The ship will be within docking range in 20 minutes, Porter said grimly. "Options. People security." Chief Mary Foster stepped forward. "We can activate defensive measures, but that might be seen as an aggressive act if they're peaceful." Science Officer Alicia Wong interjected. "The ship appears damaged. Based on energy readings, I believe they may be operating on emergency power." That could explain the lack of communication. Porter considered this. Kara continue hailing them. Foster put security teams on standby, but no offensive posture yet. Wong scanned for life signs. The next 15 minutes passed in tense silence. The unknown ship continued its approach. The station's powerful sensors finally detected faint life signs aboard. One life form. Wong confirmed biological patterns don't match any species in our database. Foster frowned. "That doesn't make sense. We have data on all known spacefaring species. Unless they come from beyond explored space," Kara suggested. "Or they're a previously unknown species." The ship was now visible through the command center's viewport. A sleek vessel with an unusual spiral design, unlike the angular, practical ships of Earth or the organic-looking Zalaxian vessels. It's heading for docking bay. 3. Wong said it appears to be on an automated approach. Porter made her decision. Foster, have a security team meet that ship. Medical team on standby. Kara, I want you there too. Your experience with alien communication might be useful, and take a Zalaxian representative. Their sensors might pick up things ours. Miss Kara nodded. As she left the command center, she sent a message to Trine requesting her presence at Docking Bay 3. When Kara arrived, security teams were already in position, weapons ready but not aimed directly at the docking port. Trine waited nearby. Her eyes now a deep, concerned green. The mysterious ship completed its docking sequence. With surprising precision, the airlocks hissed as pressure equalized. What do your senses tell you? Kara asked. Trine quietly. Trine closed her eyes, concentrating on the electromagnetic fields her neck ridges detecting. One life form. Weak energy signature. Unlike anything I have encountered, the airlock door slid open. Security officers raised their weapons. Foster at the lead. Inside the ship, lying unconscious on the floor, was a humanoid figure. Female by appearance with pale silvery skin and white hair. That seemed to float slightly as if underwater. Even unconscious, there was something both alien and beautiful about her. Medical Chief Susan Rivera rushed forward, scanning the alien with medical devices. She's alive, but barely. Foster, keep security in place while we transport her to medical. As they carefully moved the mysterious visitor to a stretcher, Kara noticed something clutched in her hand, a small device inscribed with symbols unlike any. The medical bay of Earth Station 7 hummed with activity as doctors and scientists gathered around the mysterious alien visitor. She remained unconscious, connected to specialized equipment that monitored her unusual biology. Kara stood with Station Chief Porter watching through a glass partition as Medical Chief Rivera carefully examined the silver-skinned woman. We have no reference points for her physiology. Porter said, her voice low. Nothing in any database matches her genetic structure. Trine stood nearby, her neck ridges pulsing gently as she observed. Our records contain no mention of beings with her characteristics. Either, she confirmed. Her electromagnetic signature is unlike any species we have encountered. The alien woman lay peacefully on the medical bed. Her features were humanoid yet distinctly foreign. Her silver skin had a subtle shimmer to it, and what looked like faint patterns moved beneath the surface like currents in water. Her white hair continued to float, slightly defying the station's gravity. What about the device she was carrying? Kara asked. Science Officer Wong was analyzing the small object they had found clutched in the aliens. Hand Wong approached, holding a data pad. Fascinating technology, she said. It's some kind of data storage device, but encoded in a way we've never seen. The symbols don't match any known language. Porter frowned. Do we consider her a threat, Foster? The security chief shook her head cautiously. Scans show no weapons on her person or her ship. The vessel itself appears to be a scientific craft, not military. But we can't be certain. As they discussed the situation, Rivera emerged from the medical bay. She looks stable, but her biology is extraordinary. She reported, her cells contain elements we've never documented before, and her brain activity is off the charts even while unconscious. What does that mean? Kara asked. Rivera shrugged. I'm not sure, but whatever she is, she's highly evolved. Just then alarms sounded from the medical bay. The aliens' vital signs were spiking. Her eyes flew open, revealing irises that swirled with colors like opalescent gems. She sat up abruptly, looking around in apparent confusion. Kara reacted instinctively, pushing past Porter and entering the medical bay despite Foster's shout of protest. The alien woman turned toward Kara, her expression unreadable. Kara raised her hands in what she hoped was a universal gesture of peace. I'm Kara Wilson, she said, speaking slowly. You are on Earth Station 7. Your ship docked, here with you, unconscious. The alien woman tilted her head, studying Kara intently. Then, to everyone's surprise, she spoke in perfect English. I know where I am. She said, her voice melodic with an unusual resonance. I came here intentionally. Porter had followed Kara into the room. Who are you? She demanded. And how do you speak our language? The woman smiled, a gesture that somehow seemed both familiar and alien. I'm called Lyra. I speak your language because I learned it. How? Kara asked. That should be impossible. Lyra gestured to her head. Your transmissions reach far beyond your star system. I intercepted and studied them. Trine had entered the medical bay as well, her eyes now a curious yellow. You traveled here alone from beyond explored space. Why? Lyra regarded Trine with interest. A Zolaxian, she said. I have studied your people too. You perceive electromagnetic fields through your neck ridges. Yes, how fascinating. Before Trine could respond, Lyra continued, addressing everyone I come from, a system you have not yet discovered beyond what you call the Perseus arm. My people are called the Lumidari. We have been observing Earth and other inhabited worlds for centuries. Porter crossed her arms skeptically. And you've chosen now to make contact. Why, Lyra's expression grew serious. Because time is running out, she said. I came to warn you. The command center fell silent as Lyra explained her presence. Her ship had been damaged during her journey, which was why she arrived unconscious. Her people, the Lumidari, were an ancient race who had evolved beyond physical limitations. They could perceive dimensions and energies that humans and even Zolaxians could not detect. There is a disturbance approaching, Lyra explained. It exists in what you might call the space between spaces, a rift in reality that consumes everything it touches. Wang frowned. What exactly does that mean in scientific terms? Lyra considered. This is difficult to explain in your languages. She turned to the device they had found on her. The data here contains our observations and predictions. May I? Porter nodded cautiously, and Wang handed the device to Lyra. She manipulated it with graceful fingers, and suddenly a holographic display appeared above it, showing what looked like a map of the galaxy, with a strange dark area spreading slowly through it. This is the anomaly, she said. It began in a distant sector and has been growing. For reasons we don't fully understand, it appears to be drawn to concentrated centers of conscious life. Your station sits at a junction point between multiple species. The probability of it reaching this location within one of your Earth years is high. Kara studied the holographic map. How do we know this is real? She asked, not accusingly, but cautiously. We have no way to verify your claims. Lyra turned those swirling opal eyes to Kara. I understand your skepticism. The device contains coordinates where your scientists can observe early effects of the anomaly. It will confirm what I'm saying. Porter was already communicating with Earth headquarters. The General Secretary will need to be briefed, she said, and the other species representatives. In the following days, Earth Station 7 became a center of intense activity. Scientists from all 6 represented species worked together, analyzing Lyra's data. Powerful telescopes were redirected to observe the coordinates she had provided. Kara found herself assigned as Lyra's guide and liaison. The Lumidari woman was given guest quarters, but remained under discreet observation. Trine often accompanied them, her scientific expertise valuable in interpreting Lyra's explanations about the anomaly. One evening, as they walked through the botanical garden, a recreation of Earth ecosystems, Lyra stopped to examine a simple daisy. Her expression was one of wonder. Your planet's biodiversity is remarkable, she said. Such variety of life forms, all connected yet unique. Kara watched her, curious about this enigmatic being. You said your people have been observing Earth for centuries. Why haven't you made contact before? Lyra gently touched the flower. We have a principle of non-interference. We believe species should evolve naturally without outside influence. She looked up at Kara. Only in cases of existential threat do we intervene. And this anomaly is such a threat, Trine asked. She had been quietly listening, her eyes a thoughtful blue. Lyra nodded. It has consumed 3 inhabited worlds already. Life simply ceases to exist where it passes. Kara shivered despite the garden's warm temperature. How do we stop it? We don't know if we can. Lyra admitted. My people have been studying it since its appearance, but its nature is elusive. It seems to exist partially outside normal space-time. Hope is not lost, though. Lyra continued. We have developed theories based on our observations. The anomaly responds to certain energy patterns, specifically those generated by conscious minds working in harmony. Trine tilted her head. What does that mean? Exactly, Lyra smiled. It means the solution may lie in something all our species share. Consciousness itself. The anomaly feeds on disharmony, conflict, fear, but unified conscious energy seems to create a barrier. It cannot penetrate. Kara frowned skeptically. That sounds more like mysticism than science. Do not confuse the limitations of current science with the boundaries of reality. Lyra said gently. Your own quantum physicists have observed that consciousness affects physical reality on a fundamental level. My people have simply developed this understanding further. Their conversation was interrupted by an urgent communication from Porter Kara. Please bring our guest to the command center immediately. The observations are complete. In the command center, a somber mood prevailed as scientists from multiple species gathered around displays showing telescope data. Wong stepped forward to present the findings. The anomaly exists, she confirmed simply. Just as Lyra described, we've observed 3 star systems on its edge. The effects are consistent with her data. Life-supporting planets show massive energy disruptions before all signals simply cease. Porter turned to Lyra. The General Secretary has convened an emergency council on Earth representatives. From all species have been invited. Your presence is requested. Lyra nodded. I will share everything I know. What about a solution? Kara asked. Have we learned anything that could help us stop this thing? Wong hesitated, exchanging glances with the other scientists. The Zolaxian and Acrid scientists have been working with Lyra's theories about conscious energy. They believe there may be something to it. The anomaly does seem to respond to certain patterns of thought and energy. Foster snorted from her position near the door. So what do we think it away? It's more complex than that. Trine responded, her neck ridges pulsing with intensity. Our scientists believe we may be able to create a kind of conscious energy barrier, but it would require participation from all species. Working together in a specific harmonic pattern, Kara looked at Lyra. Is that why you came to a multi-species station? Not just to warn us, but because the solution requires cooperation. Lyra's opalescent eyes seemed to look through. Kara, yes. The Lumidari cannot fight this alone. None of us can. But together, there is a chance. As plans were made for the Earth Council. Kara found herself working closely with both Trine and Lyra. The 3 of them formed an unusual team, preparing presentations and data for the representatives. The stakes could not be higher. The very survival of all their worlds hung in the balance. The journey to Earth took place aboard a high-speed shuttle. Kara, Trine, and Lyra sat together in the passenger compartment, accompanied by Station Chief Porter and representatives from the other alien species. Security Chief Foster remained on the station coordinating defense preparations. Earth grew larger in the viewport, a blue-green jewel against the blackness of space. Lyra watched with undisguised fascination. Your world is beautiful, she said to Kara. It reminds me of stories about the ancient Lumidari homeworld before we evolved beyond the need for planetary habitation. Kara studied Lyra's expression. Do you still have a homeworld? A shadow passed over Lyra's face. We maintain enclaves on several worlds, but most of my people now exist in what you might call artificial habitats, spaceborne structures that can move through the cosmos. Trine, who had been listening quietly, asked, how many of your kind remain? Fewer than once existed. Lyra answered, we are an ancient species. Our numbers have declined as we evolved. Beyond a certain point, consciousness begins to transcend physical form. Porter, who had been reviewing data nearby, glanced up sharply. What exactly does that mean? Lyra turned those opalescent eyes toward her. Some Lumidari have transitioned to a state of pure energy consciousness, no longer bound to physical bodies. They exist in a different plane of reality. The acrid representative, a small insectoid being named Zilk, clicked his mandibles in what Kara had learned was a sign of disbelief. Is this related to the anomaly? He asked. Lyra hesitated, then nodded. There may be a connection. The species who created the anomaly, the void shapers as we call them, they too evolved beyond physical form. But where the Lumidari seek harmony with all consciousness, the void shapers believe consciousness itself is an aberration in the universe, a cosmic mistake to be corrected. The shuttle fell silent as everyone absorbed this information. Kara felt a chill despite the regulated temperature. That sounds like religious extremism, not science, she said. Lyra smiled sadly. The division between science and spirituality is unique to younger species. Once you understand the fundamental nature of reality, better you'll see they are aspects of the same truth. As the shuttle entered Earth's atmosphere, the conversation shifted to more immediate concerns. The Emergency Council would begin the following day at the United Earth headquarters in Geneva. Representatives from all known spacefaring species would be present. After landing, the delegation was escorted to a heavily secured compound. Scientists and military personnel moved with purpose through the hallways. The threat of the anomaly had created an unprecedented cooperation between nations and species. Kara was assigned as Lyra's guide on Earth, a continuation of her liaison role. The Lumidari woman drew curious stares wherever they went, her silver skin and floating hair marking her as something entirely new. They were provided adjacent rooms in the diplomatic wing. That evening, Kara heard a soft knock on her door. She opened it to find Lyra standing there. "May I come in?" the Lumidari asked. "I find I cannot rest." Kara nodded, stepping aside. "Earth. Gravity feels different." I imagine Lyra entered, moving with her characteristic fluid grace. "It's not the gravity," she said. "Your planet has a unique energy signature. I can feel the collective consciousness of billions of beings. It's beautiful but overwhelming." Kara gestured. "To a chair. Please sit. Can I get you anything?" Lyra shook her head, settling into the chair. "My needs are minimal," she said, then hesitated. "There is something I must tell you, something I have not shared with your leaders." Kara tensed, remembering Lyra's previous revelation about the Void Shapers. "What is it?" Lyra leaned forward, her voice dropping. "I did not come here by chance or simply because of the anomaly. I came specifically to find you." Kara stared at her. "What do you mean?" "The Lumidari have an ability," Lyra explained. "We can perceive timelines, potential futures. I saw you in thousands of possible outcomes. You are what my people call a nexus point, a being whose choices ripple outward, affecting countless others." Kara laughed nervously. "I'm just a diplomat. A liaison. I don't make world-changing decisions." Lyra reached out, touching Kara's hand lightly. The contact sent a strange tingling sensation up Kara's arm. "It's not always the obvious leaders who change history," she said. "Often, it's those who connect others who build bridges. Small choices can cascade into tremendous change." Before Kara could respond, her communication device chimed with an urgent message from Trine. The Zolaxian was requesting to see them both immediately. They found Trine in the compound's research center, surrounded by holographic displays showing the anomaly. "It's accelerating," she said without preamble, her eyes a worried amber. "New observations show its growth rate has increased by 12%. Lyra stepped forward, studying the data with intense focus. "They know," she whispered. "The Void Shapers. They know I've warned you." "How can you be sure?" Kara asked. Lyra gestured to patterns in the data. "The anomaly doesn't grow naturally in this configuration. This is directed expansion." Deliberate Trine manipulated the displays, bringing up projection models. "At this rate, it will reach Zolax in 6 months, Earth in 8. We need to move up the timeline for developing countermeasures," Kara said, pulling out her communication device to contact Porter. Lyra placed a hand on Kara's arm. "There is something else I haven't fully explained. About the conscious energy barrier." Kara lowered the device. "What about it? Creating such a barrier requires more than just cooperation." Lyra said it demands a deep connection between representatives of each species, a merging of minds that few are capable of achieving. Trine tilted her head. "What kind of merging?" Lyra took a deep breath. "Something similar to what you might call a telepathic link, a joining of consciousness to create a harmonic pattern strong enough to disrupt the anomaly." Kara frowned. "That sounds dangerous." "It is," Lyra admitted. "The process places enormous strain on biological minds. It could be fatal, particularly for species not evolved for such connections." The next morning, the Emergency Council convened in a vast circular chamber. Representatives from Earth, Zolax, Acrid, Vorta, Grelin, and Tenteris sat in delegations. Scientists, military leaders, and diplomats filled the seats. Lyra presented the data on the anomaly, explaining its nature and acceleration. The room erupted in questions and demands for more information. General Secretary Maya Chen, a formidable woman who had unified Earth's nations, during first contact raised her hand for silence. "The evidence is compelling," she said. "We face an existential threat unlike any we've encountered. What are our options?" Various proposals were suggested. Military strikes using experimental weapons, the evacuation of threatened worlds, the construction of massive energy shields, all were determined to be inadequate against something that existed partially outside normal space. Time. Finally, Lyra stepped forward again. "There is one possibility," she said, "though the risks are significant." She explained the conscious energy barrier concept, the possibility of creating a force the anomaly could not penetrate. The Grellan representative, a massive reptilian being named Drox, rumbled skeptically, "You expect us to join minds impossible. Our species are too different," Ambassador Lorith, the head of the Zolaxian delegation, responded. "Our scientists have studied the Lumidary data. The theory appears sound. The barrier would require representatives from each species working in perfect harmony." Kara listened as the debate continued. The idea seemed fantastical, but what choice did they have? Traditional defenses would be useless against this threat. During a recess, she found herself standing with Trine and Lyra in a quiet corner of the chamber. "It won't work," Kara said quietly. "Too many political agendas, too many old conflicts. Some of these species were at war within living memory." Lyra looked at her. "Those who attempt the merging must be free of such baggage. They must be open to true connection. That is why nexus points like you are so important, Kara. You build bridges naturally." Trine had been unusually quiet. Her eyes shifted through colors as she processed her thoughts. "I believe I understand what is required," she finally said. "The barrier needs representatives who already have connections, bonds of trust." She looked meaningfully at Kara and then at Lyra. "The three of us share such a connection already, do we not?" "A foundation to build upon," Lyra smiled with obvious relief. "Yes, that is exactly right. The process can begin with a small group and expand outward, drawing in representatives from each species." Later that day, as scientists continued to debate technical aspects, Kara found herself walking in the compound's garden with Porter. The air was cool and filled with the scent of flowers. "This conscious energy barrier," Porter said, shaking her head. "It sounds like science fiction. Most alien technology seemed that way once," Kara pointed out. "Remember when we thought faster than light travel was impossible?" Porter sighed. "We're really considering this, aren't we? Do we have a choice?" Kara asked. Porter stopped looking at Kara directly. "The Lumidary has requested you specifically as the human representative in the initial merging group." Kara hesitated, unsure how much to reveal about Lyra's nexus point theory. "We work well together," she said finally. "I'm already connected to Trine. We have trust." "And what happens if this fails?" Porter asked bluntly. "Then we try something else," Kara replied. "If we're lucky enough to still be here." That evening, the three of them, Kara, Trine, and Lyra, met in a secure laboratory, specially prepared for the first merging attempt. Scientists and medical personnel stood by monitoring equipment. Observers from each species watched from behind protective barriers. That night, Kara could not sleep. Her mind kept replaying the merging experience. The feeling of being connected to Trine and Lyra had been unlike anything she'd ever known. Exhilarating and terrifying in equal measure. But something troubled her, the glimpse she'd caught of Lyra's hidden thoughts, the sense that the Lumidary was still keeping secrets. She paced her room trying to make sense of it all. A soft chime announced a visitor. It was Trine, her eyes now a calm blue, though she still looked tired. "May I enter?" the Zolaxian asked. Kara nodded, stepping aside. "You should be resting." Trine made the musical sound of Zolaxian laughter. "As should you. Yet here we both are." They sat together in silence for a moment before Trine spoke. "I experienced something during the merging. A memory, I believe, not mine. Perhaps not even Lyra's. Something older." Kara leaned forward. What kind of memory? Trine hesitated, her eyes shifting to a troubled gray. I saw a world dying, not from the anomaly, but from something else, a weapon of immense power. I felt guilt. The hair on Kara's arm stood up. Lyra said the void. Shapers believe consciousness is a cosmic mistake to be corrected. What if? Her words were interrupted by another chime at the door. This time it was Lyra who entered, her silver skin glowing softly in the dim light. You are discussing what you saw in the merging, she said. It was not a question. Kara stood facing the Luminary directly. What's the real connection between your people and the void? Shapers. Lyra was silent for a long moment, her opalescent eyes swirling with complex emotions. Finally she sighed, a sound like distant wind. They were once Luminary, she admitted. Our own kind. Trine made a sound of surprise, her eyes flashing to shocked. Yellow. Lyra continued. The void shapers were once like us, explorers, scholars. But as our evolution progressed, our people divided on the question of consciousness. Some saw it as the universe's greatest creation, a path to understanding and harmony. Others began to view it as a corruption, a deviation from the pure mathematical elegance of an unconscious cosmos. She moved to the window, looking out at the night sky. The schism grew until conflict became inevitable. The only war my species ever fought was against itself. Kara tried to process this information. What happened? The void shapers were defeated, Lyra said. Or so we thought. They fled beyond known space. We believed they had transcended physical form, entirely becoming pure energy, harmless. We were wrong. Lyra turned back to face them. They've been working for millennia developing the anomaly, a way to cleanse the universe of consciousness. Trine spoke, her voice uncharacteristically harsh. Why didn't you tell us this from the beginning? To protect you, Lyra said. The fewer who know the full truth, the safer you are. The void shapers can sense knowledge of them. They target those who understand what they truly are. Kara crossed her arms. That doesn't make sense. Why tell us now? Lyra approached. Kara. Because after the merging, you already know too much was transferred. You would have discovered it eventually, and she hesitated. Because I need your trust for what comes next. What comes next? Kara repeated suspiciously. The barrier, Lyra explained. It must be more than defense, it must be a counterweapon. Something that doesn't just stop the anomaly but reverses it, turns it against its creators. Trine tilted her head. How is that possible? The void shapers created the anomaly using the negative aspects of consciousness, Lyra said. Fear, hatred, isolation. We must use the positive aspects, connection, empathy, harmony. Not just to shield ourselves, but to heal the rift they've created. Kara shook her head. This sounds less like science and more like philosophy. Lyra finished for her. Exactly. At the most fundamental level, reality is shaped by consciousness. The void shapers understand this. That is why they fear it. That is why they seek to destroy it. The next morning, Kara and Trine accompanied Lyra to a meeting with the scientific teams from all 6 species. The successful test merging had created new momentum. Representatives who had been skeptical were now cautiously optimistic. Chief Scientist Elena Vasquez from Earth led the meeting. The energy, readings from yesterday were unlike anything we've ever recorded, she said enthusiastically. We detected a localized field that appeared to exist partially outside normal space-time. Exactly what we'd need to counter the anomaly. Zilk, the acrid scientist, clicked his mandibles. The question remains, can it be scaled up? 3 minds is a fascinating experiment, but we would need hundreds, possibly thousands, to create a barrier large enough to be effective. The Vortan representative, a gaseous being contained in a special environment suit, burbled through its translator. And what of the physical toll? It was clear the merging taxed even these 3 volunteers significantly. Lyra stepped forward, addressing their concerns. The process becomes easier with practice. The initial shock is the most difficult. Once the pathways are established, expansion becomes possible. What about compatibility? Vasquez asked. Do all species have equal capacity for this connection? Lyra hesitated. Some have natural advantages, she admitted. The Zolaxians with their electromagnetic sensitivity, the Vortans with their distributed consciousness. But all sentient beings have the fundamental capacity. The meeting continued with technical discussions. The scientists were already designing an expanded test with 2 representatives from each species. The military leaders were less enthusiastic, concerned about the vulnerability of their people during the merging process. As they left the meeting, Kara was approached by Porter. The station chief pulled her aside, speaking in a low voice. The General Secretary wants to see you. Privately, Kara followed Porter through secure corridors to a small meeting room. General Secretary Chen sat alone, reviewing data on a tablet. She looked up as Kara entered, dismissing Porter with a nod. Please sit, Ms. Wilson, Chen said. Her expression was unreadable. Kara sat wondering what this was about. Chen set down her tablet, studying Kara. I need your honest assessment of our Lumidary visitor. Kara chose her words carefully. Lyra has been forthcoming with technical information. The merging experiment confirmed her theories. That's not what I'm asking, Chen interrupted. Do you trust her? The directness of the question caught Kara off guard. I believe. Her intentions are good, she said finally. But she's not telling us everything. Chen nodded, seemingly unsurprised. Military intelligence has been analyzing the data from your merging experiment. They detected something unusual. Neural patterns suggesting a deeper connection was being established than Lyra had indicated. Something potentially permanent. Kara's pulse quickened. Is that dangerous? Chen leaned forward. We don't know, but we're concerned about what happens after. If we succeed in creating this barrier, if we stop the anomaly, what then? What role do the Lumidary intend to play in our future? Kara hadn't considered this. The focus had been so completely on the immediate threat. I need you to find out. Chen continued, your connection with Lyra gives you an opportunity. No one else has. You're asking me to spy on her, Kara said. Asking you to protect humanity, Chen corrected. And all the other species we've come to call allies were facing extinction. Ms. Wilson, we can't afford blind trust. After leaving Chen, Kara found herself walking the grounds of the compound, trying to sort through her conflicting thoughts. She had sensed Lyra's sincerity during the merging, but she had also glimpsed secrets buried deep. She found Trine in the gardens. The Zolaxian was studying earth flowers with scientific interest. Her eyes shifted to a welcoming green when she saw Kara. Trine could sense Kara's troubled mind. What troubles you? Friend Kara. Kara sat beside her on a bench. The General Secretary has concerns about Lyra's true agenda. Trine was quiet for a moment. As does Ambassador Lorith. She finally admitted. The Zolaxian Diplomatic Corps believes the Lumidary may have ulterior motives. Kara sighed. So what do we do? Trine's eyes shifted to a resolute blue. We continue with the merging, but we remain vigilant. During the connection, we may learn more than Lyra intends to share. The expanded merging test was scheduled for the following day. 12 participants, 2 from each species, would attempt to create a larger energy field. Still just a fraction of what would eventually be needed, but an important step. That evening, Kara sought out Lyra. The Lumidary was in the laboratory studying the equipment that would monitor the test. Can we talk? Kara asked. Lyra looked up. You have questions? Kara nodded. What happens if we succeed? If we create this barrier and stop the anomaly? What then? What do the Lumidary want from us? Lyra seemed to consider the question carefully. Nothing, she finally said. We want nothing from you except your continued existence. Kara frowned, skeptical. You've gone to extraordinary lengths to help species you've never even contacted before. Why? Lyra approached Kara, standing close enough that Kara could see the subtle patterns shifting beneath her silver skin. Because all consciousness is connected, she said softly. Even species who never meet influence each other's development through the underlying field that connects all awareness. The loss of even one sentient species diminishes the whole. The loss of the void shapers You mean? Kara said. Lyra nodded, a sadness visible in her eyes. Yes, their choice to reject connection, to embrace isolation and destruction, it created a wound in the collective consciousness of our galaxy, one that has festered for millennia. Is that why you came to me specifically? Kara asked. Because I'm some kind of nexus point. Alarms blared throughout the facility. Security personnel rushed into the medical bay, weapons drawn. Porter barked orders into her communication device. General Secretary Chen appeared moments later, flanked by military officers. Lyra, or whatever now, inhabited her body, remained eerily calm on the medical bed. Those dark void-like eyes fixed on Kara. You saw our plan. The hollow voice continued. You rejected unity. Now you face division. Alone, Trine stepped forward, her eyes flashing between alarm, red and defiant orange. Who are you? She demanded. What have you done with Lyra? A sound like distant thunder rolled from the Lumidaris lips, laughter without joy. I am what she feared, what she tried to warn you about. A messenger, nothing more. Foster, who had arrived from the station, aimed a weapon at the figure. Everybody back, she ordered, the dark-eyed being ignored, the threat turning that empty gaze back to Kara. The nexus point. How interesting that she chose you. The patterns of probability are curious indeed. Kara felt a chill but stood her ground. Where is Lyra? What have you done to her? Gone, the voice said. Her consciousness fled when you broke the merging, too weak to maintain her physical form. Too cowardly to face us directly. Chen stepped forward despite her security team's protests. Identify yourself, she demanded. I am nothing, the voice replied. I am the absence of all you value. The correction of a cosmic error. Trine's neck ridges pulsed intensely as she studied the being. Can sense no electromagnetic signature, she said with shock. As if there is no consciousness there. Kara finished remembering Lyra's words about the void shapers. The dark eyes seemed to absorb light from the room. Very perceptive, the voice said. We exist in the spaces between your awareness. In the void your primitive minds cannot comprehend. The being rose from the bed, ignoring the medical equipment attached to Lyra's body. Those who aimed weapons found their devices suddenly inoperative. The anomaly you fear is merely the beginning. The voice continued. The first breath of cleansing. Soon all consciousness will return to the void. All awareness will cease. The natural order will be restored. Foster attempted to restrain the figure, but her hands passed through the silver body as if through smoke. The being turned those terrible eyes toward the assembled group. Your lumidary messenger believed you could create a barrier through unity. She was partially correct. Unity is strength. But she lacked the courage to tell you the price. Such a connection would have transformed you all, made you something new, something beyond your current limitations. Kara realized with sudden clarity that was what we'd seen in the merging. The true plan, not just a temporary connection but a permanent evolution. The dark-eyed being nodded as if hearing her thoughts. Yes. The only defense against the void is to transcend it, to become something new, something the void cannot touch but your fear prevents. This you cling to your separateness, your individual identities, and so you will fade. Trine moved to stand beside Kara, her posture defiant. What do you want? She asked. Why come here like this? To witness, the voice replied. To observe your failure and perhaps a pause, something shifting in those dark eyes to offer a choice. The room fell silent, all eyes on the being. Join us, the voice said. Embrace the void. Consciousness is suffering. Identity is pain. We offer peace. The absence of all striving. All fear, all loss. Chen laughed harshly. Some choice, surrender or die. The dark eyes turned to her. Many will choose the void willingly when they understand the alternative, the coming change. The end of all you know yourselves to be. Kara felt a strange doubling of awareness, a familiar warmth. Something was happening beyond what they could see, a presence she recognized. Lyra. She whispered. The dark-eyed being turned sharply. You are perceptive nexus point. Perhaps too perceptive. The air in the room seemed to Thick and energy readings on the still-functioning monitors spiked. A battle was taking place on a level they could barely comprehend. The silver body suddenly convulsed. The dark eyes flickered, showing glimpses of opalescent color beneath the being. Spoke, but the voice kept shifting between the hollow emptiness and Lyra's melodic tones. "She cannot win the void," voice said. "The physical form is already mine. Help me." Lyra's voice broke through for an instant. Kara understood immediately. She reached for Treen's hand. The Zalaxian's eyes widened in surprise, then comprehension. She gripped Kara's hand firmly. Kara closed her eyes, focusing as Lyra had taught them, imagining her consciousness as light extending outward. She felt Treen's mind join with hers. Their merged awareness reached toward Lyra, seeking her amid the darkness that had engulfed her. The others in the room watched in confusion as Kara and Treen stood motionless, hands clasped, eyes closed. The silver body before them convulsed, again more violently. Dark energy and light seemed to battle within it. In the merged state, Kara and Treen found themselves in a landscape of pure consciousness. No physical forms, only patterns of energy and awareness. In the center, they perceived two forces locked in combat. One, a swirling vortex of opalescent light, Lyra's essence. The other, a consuming darkness that seemed to devour light itself. The darkness spoke directly into their minds. "You cannot save her. The connection is too weak. You are too few." Kara felt Treen hesitate, uncertain. Then she had an idea, the nexus point. Perhaps that was what Lyra had meant all along. Not just someone who created connections, but someone who could serve as a conduit. She focused her merged consciousness, reaching not just toward Lyra but outward to everyone in the room, to Chen Porter Foster, the scientists, the security personnel. Even to those observing from a distance. At first, nothing happened. Then slowly she felt it. Additional minds joining the merging, hesitant, confused, but responding to her call. The connection growing stronger, a web of consciousness forming. The darkness faltered as the light grew. The Void Shaper had not expected this. Not prepared for a spontaneous merging, Lyra's consciousness seized the opportunity, growing stronger as it drew energy from the expanding connection. "This changes nothing." The darkness insisted. "You merely delay the inevitable. The anomaly comes. Your worlds will end." But in the merged state, they could sense the truth. The Void Shaper was afraid. Not of their weapons or technology, but of their unity, of the potential that existed in their combined consciousness. More minds continued to join the merging, a cascade effect. As those connected reached out to others, the web expanded beyond the room, beyond the compound. Scientists across the world felt the call. Those with telepathic sensitivity among the alien delegations responded instinctively. The Void Shaper fought desperately, trying to maintain control of Lyra's physical form. But the tide had turned. The combined consciousness of hundreds, then thousands, pushed against the darkness. In the physical world, observers watched in awe as a visible field of energy formed around Kara and Treen, expanding outward. The silver body that had housed Lyra rose into the air, suspended as two forces battled for control. Then, with a sound like reality, tearing a breach opened in the air above them. A swirling vortex of darkness, a portal to somewhere beyond, normal space. The darkness was being pushed out of Lyra's form, forced back toward the portal. It resisted, clinging to the physical world. "You cannot stop what comes, the void." Voice raged. "Your unity is temporary. Your species will return to conflict, to isolation. The anomaly will find you. And when it does, we will be waiting." With a final surge of combined mental energy, the merged consciousness pushed. The darkness tore free from Lyra's body, vanishing into the portal, which closed with a thunderclap of imploding air. Lyra's form collapsed to the ground. The connections between minds began to fade. Individuals returning to themselves. Kara and Treen were the last to separate, their merged consciousness lingering as they helped guide others back to individual awareness. When Kara opened her eyes, the room was in chaos. People and aliens alike looked dazed, some weeping, some laughing hysterically. The experience of merging even briefly had profoundly affected them all. Medical teams surrounded. Lyra's still form. Kara pushed through the crowd, kneeling beside the Lumidari. Her silver skin had regained some of its luster but remained dulled. The patterns beneath the surface moved sluggishly. Lyra's eyes fluttered open. No longer dark voids, but not the vibrant opalescent swirls either. Faded, diminished, you did it, she whispered. You created the connection. Kara took her hand. Hang on. We'll get you. Help. Lyra shook her head weakly. Too late for this form. The void presence damaged it beyond repair, but I achieved my purpose. You understand now, you all felt it. Tree knelt on Lyra's other side, her eyes a sorrowful blue. The unity. The potential. Lyra smiled. The barrier can be created now. The knowledge is within you all. The memory of connection. The merged consciousness showed you the way. Chen approached, looking shaken by the experience she had shared. Is it gone? She asked. The void. Shaper. Only one messenger, Lyra said. There will be others, but you have time now. Time to prepare, to strengthen the connections between you. She looked at Kara. You know what to do. Nexus point. You felt the pattern. The path forward. Kara nodded, tears in her eyes. She had glimpsed something extraordinary in the merging a potential future, where the boundaries between species consciousness gradually dissolved, not erasing individual identity but transcending it, creating something greater than the sum of its parts in the days that followed. Lyra's physical form faded away. She explained that her consciousness would return to the Lumidari enclaves to report what had happened. She would continue to guide them, but from a distance,